With Moana 2 finally out on streaming, I thought it was time to remake my Disney Defeats video with Wish and Moana 2. And to spice things up, let's go in reverse order. Maui and Moana are out at sea again, only to find a giant thunderstorm instead of a lava monster. After breaking the tornadoes and some hard work, they are making progress. Maui gets hit by the lightning and loses his tattoos. Moana goes down to find the hook, and just before being hit with lightning, she manages to save everyone. Maui then saves Moana, and with the help of the ancestors, revives her. The island is restored, and now they both have tattoos.
Ocean! I missed you.
Come on now, a little bit more.
King Magnifico has gone cuckoo crazy, but Asha tries to stop him. The king slams her down and creates a storm, imprisoning all the citizens. However, the people start singing to free the star from the king's grasps. The king tries to hurt everyone, but with everyone claiming their own wish, the king loses his power and the star gets released, and the king ends up sucked into his own staff, imprisoning him for eternity. Peace is restored to the kingdom once and for all. Alma Madrigal's defeat comes when her attempts to control and perfect the family's gifts lead to the destruction of Casa Madrigal. As the family works to rebuild and restore their home, Alma's rigid expectations are challenged. In the end, the magical revival of Casita and the realization of the family's imperfections force Alma to let go of her control, leading to a joyful but comically imperfect family photo. The Droon are defeated when Rhea and her friends restore the Dragon Gem, unleashing a powerful wave of dragon magic that banishes them from Kumandra for good. This act revives everyone who had been turned to stone, including Rhea's and her friends' families, and the dragons. The Arthur virus meets its downfall after copying Ralph's insecurities and creating chaotic Ralph clones that spread across the internet. Ralph unleashes the virus into Slaughter Race, drawn to Vanellope's glitch. Arthur spreads her insecurity throughout the game, causing it to deteriorate and collapse. As the game reboots, Shank and Ralph manage to escape with an unconscious Vanellope. When she awakens, Ralph confesses that he released the virus. Furious, Vanellope throws Ralph's medal into the dark net and declares their friendship over before storming off. Heartbroken, Ralph's emotional breakdown triggers Arthur to copy his insecurities, spreading faulty code across the internet in the form of mindless Ralph clones. Arthur then disappears from the story, its fate unknown. In the movie Moana, she realizes that Teka is actually Te Fiti without her heart, as the entire island is missing. Maui, despite his fishhook being destroyed, performs a haka to show he's unafraid, which angers Teka. She prepares to kill Maui with a massive fireball. Moana distracts Teka by shining Te Fiti's heart and sings a calming song, soothing Teka and restoring her to her true form, Te Fiti. Te Fiti forgives Maui, revives the islands, and restores Moana's boat and Maui's fishhook. Assistant Mayor Dawn Bellwether is defeated when Judy and Nick expose her plan to frame predators as savages to control Zootopia. Bellwether's scheme is revealed when Judy plays a recording of her confession, leading to her arrest by the ZPD. In prison, Bellwether angrily watches a concert celebrating prey-predator unity, further infuriated by the enjoyment of fellow inmates. Yokai is defeated when Hero and his team, Big Hero 6, discover his identity as Robert Callahan and rescue Abigail from the unstable portal he created. During the battle, the portal becomes unstable and risks exploding. Baymax detects a life form inside, and Hero deduces it's Abigail in hypersleep. Hero bravely enters the portal to rescue her, while Robert, who has just learned his daughter is alive, remains restrained by Fred and waits with the team and Mr. Cray. Hero successfully brings Abigail to safety. As the police and paramedics arrive, Abigail is taken to an ambulance, unaware of her father's actions. Robert, filled with regret, is arrested and placed in a patrol car. He catches one last glimpse of Abigail before being driven away, hanging his head in remorse. Cad Spinner, initially focused solely on saving the lodge, is defeated after ignoring crucial advice and causing complications. As the fire threatens the lodge, Cad struggles with the roof sprinklers due to low water pressure. He demands Andre reroute the main water supply, but Andre points out it's needed for firefighters' retardant. Ignoring him, Cad switches the supply, and Andre leaves with his bags. Cad gets fired by the secretary for his narrow focus on saving the lodge, and Jammer takes over. In the end credits, Cad is shown as a park ranger in Death Valley, seemingly working on improving his attitude. Prince Hans Westergrad, the douche prince who deceives Anna, is defeated when he tries to kill Elsa, but Anna, despite being frozen solid, blocks his sword. The shockwave from the curse shatters his blade and knocks him unconscious. After Elsa thaws Arendelle, Anna confronts Hans, punches him into the fjord, and he is then arrested and sent back to the Southern Isles to face punishment. Ripslinger, confident of winning, is overtaken by Dusty as he pauses for photos at JFK Airport. Enraged, he crashes into portable toilets and ends up in a pile of sludge. He's carted away while Roper mocks him. King Candy, also known as Turbo, is defeated in Wreck-It Ralph when he succumbs to his Cybug programming. Turbo declares game over for Ralph and Vanellope, but Ralph breaks free and falls into a volcano. The impact erupts the volcano, sending a lava beacon that vaporizes the Cybugs. Turbo, initially unaffected, eventually succumbs to his Cybug programming. In a panic, he flies into the lava light and is destroyed. As characters can't regenerate outside their own games, Turbo is permanently eliminated. Mother Gothel is defeated when Rapunzel's magical hair is cut, causing her to lose her power. As Gothel rapidly ages in her attempt to reclaim the hair, Pascal trips her, leading to her fall from the tower. By the time her cloak reaches the ground, only dust remains of her. Dr. Facilier's defeat occurs when Tiana shatters his talisman, which leads to his friends from the other side coming to collect his soul. Panicked, he begs for another chance, but the spirits drag him into the voodoo world as payment for his broken promises. Facilier is doomed to remain there for eternity, with his fate marked by a tombstone bearing his horrified face. The agent from Bolt meets his match when he suggests Penny keep working even with her injuries. Penny's mom, already done with his antics, kicks him out of the ambulance and declares they're quitting the show. The agent tries to charm his way back in with his classic pin move, but Penny's mom slams the door on him, leaving him outside to rethink his career while he contemplates whether he'll be repping Penny's replacement or just looking for a new job.
Let's put a pin in it.
Queen Nerissa is defeated in Enchanted after transforming into a dragon and battling Giselle. She captures Robert and takes him to the top of the Woolworth building, with Giselle in pursuit. Just as Giselle and Robert seem doomed, Giselle's chubby chipmunk friend Pip arrives. Pip's weight causes the spire Nerissa is standing on to collapse, making her drop Robert. Nerissa then falls to her death in a spectacular explosion, leaving only sparkly dust. Giselle, Robert, and Pip remain safe on the building's rooftop. In Cinderella, Lady Tremaine, aka Wicked Stepmother, is defeated when her schemes are exposed. In the final showdown, the king orders Lady Tremaine's arrest, but she tries to seize the kingdom by turning the guards into animals. She tries to turn Cinderella and Anastasia into toads, but the prince reflects the spell back at her and Drizella, transforming them into toads and banishing them to the cellar. Doris meets her end in a spectacularly dramatic fashion when Louis, fed up with her scheming, boldly declares he will never invent her. Her response? She vanishes into thin air like a bad joke that finally lands. With Doris gone, the future is restored, and the chaos she caused is undone, leaving everyone to enjoy a happily ever after, minus the evil hats. In Chicken Little, Foxy's downfall comes when aliens invade, and Foxy, along with Goosey Lucy, try to fend off an alien robot. Unfortunately, she gets captured. After a botched reconstitution, Foxy's personality shifts dramatically, making her sweeter and gentler. The aliens offer to fix it, but she and Runt seem to prefer the new Foxy, so they decline. Fully aware of her altered state, Foxy embraces it and ends up becoming Runt's girlfriend. The story wraps up with her dancing alongside Runt and Goosey Lucy during the end credits.
Scary.
Lord Chin's defeat occurs when Shang interrupts Mulan's forced wedding. Just as he is about to finalize the marriage, Shang, who is alive and well, arrives in Qigong to stop the wedding. Furious at Shang's interference and his love for Mulan, Qin orders the guards to remove him. However, they are halted by the Golden Dragon of Unity, which is actually Mushu speaking from inside the statue. The dragon's fiery display convinces Chin to come to his senses and call off the wedding, with Chin panicking as the dragon breathes fire. In Home on the Range, Almada Slim is defeated after a dramatic showdown. The cows, led by Buck, escape and free the cattle, then return to the farm using Wesley's train where they and the other animals fight Slim by shoving him into a smokestack and exposing him to Sheriff Sam Brown and Pearl Gessner. Shocked to discover Slim is a wanted outlaw, the sheriff and Pearl watch as Slim tries to yodel in protest, only to be silenced when Grace kicks Maggie's cowbell into his mouth. The sheriff then binds and gags Slim, who is ultimately stuffed into a paddy wagon, still struggling to escape as he's carted off to jail.
Pearl, your cows can't do much with Slim's reward.
Denahi encounters Kenai in his bear form in a volcanic field and tries to kill him. After a brief struggle, he manages to break the bridge Kenai and Koda are crossing, but they escape and he falls into the waters below when the bridge collapses. Later, while warming himself by a fire, Denahi sees an eagle he believes is Sitka and follows it to a mountain where Kenai is transformed back into a human during a battle. Realizing Kenai is his brother, he throws down his spear and accepts Kenai's true self, acknowledging that Kenai will always be his brother, no matter his form. Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed meet their downfall during the final battle at Pride Rock. During the film's climax at Pride Rock, the hyenas reappear, chasing Timon and Pumbaa into a cave. After being briefly driven away by Pumbaa's flatulence, they corner the duo. To stall for time, Timon balances plates, performs the can-can, and even proposes to Shenzi, who grows increasingly disgusted. Banzai, sensing a trick, suggests skipping the stall tactics and going straight to eating them. Just in time, Timon manages to finish digging a tunnel, causing Shenzi and the other hyenas to fall into it. Scroop's defeat in Treasure Island occurs during a dramatic confrontation with Jim Hawkins. As Scroop begins cutting the flag's rope while taunting Jim, Jim grabs the mast and manages to prevent Scroop from fully severing the rope. He then dodges Scroop's attack and shoves him into the flag. The sudden jerk breaks the weakened rope, sending Scroop floating away into the void, screaming in terror. In Lilo and Stitch, Captain Gantu's defeat occurs during a climactic confrontation at the film's end. Gantu, the imposing alien captain, pursues Stitch to capture him. As Gantu corners Stitch and Lilo, their clever teamwork leads to his downfall. Lilo distracts Gantu long enough for Stitch to unleash a series of chaotic events that cause Gantu's ship to malfunction. Ultimately, Gantu is knocked out of the ship and is left stranded, humorously defeated by his own incompetence and the chaotic antics of Stitch and Lilo. In Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Commander Rourke's defeat is both dramatic and ironic. During the final battle, Rourke, losing his sanity, attacks Milo with a fire axe. In the struggle, Rourke breaks a container holding the heart of Atlantis, and when Milo cuts him with a shard of the crystal, Rourke begins to transform into a crystal himself. Despite his transformation, Rourke continues to attack, but in a twist of fate, he's accidentally thrown into the moving propellers of a nearby aircraft, shattering him completely and marking his ultimate downfall. Buster's defeat in Lady and the Tramp happens when Scamp, tired of Buster's manipulations, traps him under a heap of junk in the junkyard. The other dogs, fed up with Buster's selfish ways, abandon him to seek better lives, leaving him alone and powerless.
Buster's trouble ain't Buster's trouble. Come on, Buster's trouble is everybody's trouble.
In The Emperor's New Groove, Isma's defeat is a comedic spectacle. After a series of bungled plans, Isma is finally outwitted by Emperor Cusco, who has been transformed into a llama. In a final showdown, she chases Cusco into the jungle and corners him in her lab, intent on eliminating him and his sidekick Pacha. But her scheme goes awry when she mistakenly drinks one of her own potions, turning herself into a cute kitten. She briefly seizes the advantage by grabbing the potion that could turn her back into a human, but it's soon knocked from her paws by Pacha when Kronk accidentally crushes her with a door. In the end, she finds herself enrolled in Kronk's Junior Chipmunks class.
I'm so proud of you guys.
The Carnotaurus is defeated in Dinosaur, is defeated when Aladar and the herd stand up to it, forcing the predator to retreat. After a brutal attack on Kron, the Carnotaurus is pushed to the edge of a cliff by Aladar. The cliff crumbles, and the Carnotaurus falls to its death on the jagged rocks below. Morgana is defeated in The Little Mermaid 2 when her plans to conquer the sea are thwarted. Despite her efforts to steal King Triton's trident and use its power for evil, she is ultimately outsmarted. Triton seizes the trident and declares to Morgana she would never escape or threaten his family again. He then traps her in a small iceberg, sending her plummeting to the ocean's depths. As she sinks, Morgana, still alive, mournfully cries, "Mommy," in her realization of failure. Meanwhile, Ursula's portrait drifts down with her, lingering in the background. Bradley's downfall comes when he's outwitted and outmatched by Max. In the end, Bradley threw in the towel, literally, shaking Max's hand and agreeing to be Max's personal towel boy. But Max, being a good sport, cancels the bet because Bradley has to face the wrath of Tank. Tank, livid at Bradley's betrayal, uses him as a human slingshot to launch into the air, sending him crashing into the X Games blimp. The blimp spirals out of control, and Bradley's final scene involves him becoming the least popular kid at the Gammas, likely getting expelled for cheating and turning the X Games into an aerial circus. In Tarzan, Clayton meets his end during a climactic fight in the jungle. As he tries to capture Tarzan and his gorilla family, Clayton's greed leads him to attack with reckless abandon. In the chaos, he becomes entangled in the vines of the jungle, which he had been cutting. While trying to free himself, the vines tighten around him, and he is accidentally hanged by his own machetes. His defeat is both ironic and tragic, as his own actions lead to his downfall. In The Lion King II, Simba's pride, Zira meets her end when she tries to attack Simba and his family. Still fueled by vengeance for Scar, Zira attacks Simba. Kiara intervenes, causing both lionesses to tumble over a cliff. As the dam breaks and the river surges, Kiara offers to save Zira, but Zira's pride prevents her from accepting help from her enemy's daughter. Rejecting help, she falls into the water and is swept away, leaving only a paw reaching out. Her defeat comes as a result of her relentless pursuit of vengeance and refusal to accept her defeat. Shan Yu is defeated by the antics of Mulan and Mushu. After ordering his elite Huns to guard the door, Shan Yu fails to force the emperor to kneel. As he prepares to strike, Shang intervenes, and Qian Po rescues the emperor. Shan Yu overpowers Shang and is about to kill him when Mulan distracts him by revealing she caused the avalanche. Seeing Mulan as a greater threat, Shan Yu chases her through the palace, eventually cornering her on the rooftop. Mulan cleverly disarms him with a fan and then uses his own sword against him. Just as Shan Yu is about to attack again, Mushu launches a rocket at him, sending him crashing into a tower full of fireworks, which explodes and kills him. Forte is defeated when the beast destroys his keyboard, ending his control over the music. In his rage, Forte collapses and is destroyed. The beast mourns him despite his villainy, with Belle comforting him. In the fiery depths of the underworld, Hades met his match. After Hades smugly reveals that Meg is dead, Hercules offers his soul in exchange, which Hades finds suspicious but ultimately accepts, with the condition that Hercules retrieves her himself. As Hercules dives into the river Styx, Hades warns that he'll die before reaching Meg. However, Hercules' selfless act causes him to regain his godly form, making him immortal. Emerging from the river with Meg's soul, Hercules punches Hades into the river Styx, where he's swarmed by the souls and dragged into the depths, possibly for eternity.
Get away from me! Don't touch me! Get your slimy souls off me!
Judge Claude Frollo meets his fiery end in a rather poetic way. After admitting he killed Quasimodo's mother, Frollo tries to finish the job and kill Quasimodo too. But as he stands on a gargoyle, ready to strike, he delivers one last dramatic line about smiting the wicked. Right on cue, the gargoyle crumbles beneath him, sending Frollo on a one-way trip into a pool of molten metal. Turns out, the only thing getting smote was Frollo himself. by a vengeful piece of stone. Saluk meets his end after trying to seize the hand of Midas from Aladdin and Kasim. Greedily grabbing the hand by the golden part instead of the handle, Saluk is instantly turned into a solid gold statue. Governor Ratcliffe's defeat comes when his greed and arrogance lead to his downfall. Obsessed with finding gold, Ratcliffe orders his men to open fire despite the peaceful resolution. When they refuse, he grabs a gun and tries to shoot Chief Powhatan himself. John Smith intervenes, taking the bullet. Realizing Ratcliffe's true nature and regretting ever following him, the settlers rebel, disarming and chaining him. They send Ratcliffe back to England in disgrace to face punishment, as he rants about betrayal and vows revenge.
Just loading the last bit of cargo.
In a fight with Simba, Scar gains the upper hand by knocking Simba onto his back. But Simba counters with a move Nal once used on him, pinning Scar down and tossing him over the edge of Pride Rock. Scar survives the fall, only to be confronted by the hyenas, who reveal they overheard Scar calling them the enemy. As they close in with malicious grins, Scar desperately begs for mercy and tries to justify his betrayal. But the hyenas, fed up with his treachery, attack him, eating and mauling him to death amid the surrounding flames. Jafar meets his end in a rather satisfying twist of fate. After turning into a genie and throwing a tantrum that involves a lot of lava, he seems unstoppable.
Everything that goes with it.
I'm getting out of here!
Phenomenal cosmic powers. Come on!
He's zapped out of existence, leaving nothing but peace in his wake. In Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Gaston meets his end in a dramatic showdown at the castle. After a fierce battle with the Beast, Gaston climbs onto the roof, still intent on killing him. As the Beast fights back, Gaston is thrown off balance and loses his footing. Despite his attempts to climb back up, Gaston slips and falls into the ravine below, where he dies. Percival C. McLeach meets his end when he is knocked into a river by Joanna. Attempting to fend off attacking crocodiles, he is unaware of an approaching waterfall. As Joanna escapes to safety, McLeach is swept over the falls by the current, leading to his demise. In The Little Mermaid, Ursula meets her end in a dramatic clash. After Ariel and Prince Eric foil her plans, she grows into a monstrous sea giant in a furious bid for revenge. While Ursula is distracted by taunting Ariel about true love and preparing to use the trident to kill her, Eric seizes control of a nearby ship. He drives the ship's splintered bow through Ursula's abdomen. Impaling her, she screams as lightning strikes the ship, delivering a brutal electric shock. As she succumbs to her injuries, her body collapses onto the ship and then sinks into the sea, with her remains scattering on the ocean floor. Bill Sikes is defeated when he is chased by Oliver and the gang onto the Brooklyn Bridge. After failing to capture Jenny and being thrown off by the dogs, Sikes faces a speeding train. He crashes into it, causing a fiery explosion that destroys his car and throws him into the East River, ending his life. In the final showdown of The Great Mouse Detective, Ratigan grabs Olivia and prepares to ambush Basil. The latter traps Ratigan with his cape, allowing them to escape with Olivia. Furious, Ratigan breaks free and pursues Basil, transforming from a composed to a ferocious rat. He tackles him onto the clock's hour hand and after a brutal fight, severely wounds him. Just as he is about to finish him off, Basil reveals he stole Ratigan's bell and uses it to summon help. The clock bell tolls, causing Ratigan to lose his balance and fall to his death, while Basil survives using a piece of the blimp. The Horned King meets his doom when his plan to harness the power of the Black Cauldron backfires. As he attempts to use the cauldron to summon an army of the undead, the magical artifact turns against him. the cauldron's dark energy engulfs the Horned King, pulling him into its depths and destroying him in a fiery explosion, leaving nothing but a memory of his evil. In The Fox and the Hound, the Black Bear's defeat is a dramatic culmination of Todd's brave actions. During a tense climax, Todd leaps onto the bear's back to save his injured friend Copper. He distracts the bear by biting and scratching, leading it away from Copper and up a cliff. At the cliff's top, Todd's desperate attacks finally cause the bear to lose its footing on a precarious log bridge. The log breaks under the bear's weight, sending both the bear and the log crashing into the waterfall below. Todd survives, but the bear is lost to the depths of the raging waters, marking a heroic yet tragic end to the battle. Madame Medusa's defeat in The Rescuers is a classic tale of villainy gone awry. Despite her cunning and greed, her plans unravel dramatically. After a tense chase, her grasp on the swamp mobile is broken by Ellie Mae. As she holds onto the mooring rope, she's dragged and uses crocodiles as makeshift water skis. When Penny swerves sharply, the rope snaps, sending Medusa crashing into a smokestack. Medusa helplessly watches as Penny escapes with the Devil's Eye, while Brutus and Nero snap at her from the water, and Mr. Snoops, ragged and chuckling, drifts away on a makeshift raft. Prince John's plotting and scheming ends when King Richard finally returns to England and is shocked by the mess Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham made. Richard kicks John off the throne, cancels all his unjust taxes, and restores joy and prosperity to Nottingham. He also pardons Robin Hood and celebrates his heroics. Meanwhile, John, along with Sir Hiss and the Sheriff, is sentenced to work in the royal rock pile. Under the watchful eyes of Trigger and Nutsy, John's miserable fate includes plenty of rock-related mishaps, much to Sir Hiss's delight. Edgar Balthazar's downfall was as comedic as it was deserved. Determined to be rid of the cats, Edgar traps them in a sack, pretends to sympathize with Madame, and plans to send them to Timbuktu. Thomas and his alley cat friends fight back, ultimately hitting Edgar with a bale of hay, tying him up with a horse collar, gagging him with a bucket, and locking him in the trunk intended for the cats. As Edgar is shipped off to Timbuktu, he's left unable to call for help due to his gag and daze. In the Jungle Book, the vultures advise Mowgli to use a burning branch to scare Khan. Distracted by the vultures, Mowgli ties Khan's tail to the fire. Khan, panicked and unable to extinguish the flames, flees, humiliated and burned. In The Sword in the Stone, Mad Madame Mim is defeated during a magical duel with Merlin. Initially, she uses her shape-shifting abilities to her advantage, transforming into various creatures to attack Merlin. However, Merlin outsmarts her by transforming into a germ and infecting her with a rare disease. Mim suffers from a range of symptoms, including spots and violent sneezing. Queen of Furcoats, Cruella de Vil is defeated after, along with Jasper and Horace. She tracks the dogs to Dinsford, where the pups disguise themselves as Labradors to hitch a ride to London. She figures out the ruse and pursues the lorry with wild abandon, nearly sending it, and the Dalmatians, over a cliff. The chase ends in chaos when Jasper and Horace accidentally crash into Cruella's car, sending everyone over the edge. Although they survive, Cruella is livid, berating her henchmen until Jasper finally snaps and tells her to shut up. Distraught over her wrecked car and lost coat, Cruella breaks down, and it's assumed the police eventually arrest the lot.
You idiots! You fools! Oh, you imbecile!
Maleficent receives her comeuppance when Prince Philip faces off against her dragon form, despite his fear. She blasts him with flames, snaps her jaws, and corners him on a cliff. Just as she's about to serve him up as a dragon snack, the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, magically supercharge the Sword of Truth, and Philip stabs the dragon's heart. The dragon lets out a deafening roar, face plants off the cliff, and dissolves into a puff of dark smoke. And just like that, the dragon's gone, leaving behind only her cloak and the sword of truth. The sneaky rat in Lady and the Tramp meets his demise when Tramp confronts the rat, chasing it across the room and causing a mess. Tramp tries to catch the rat but accidentally tips over the crib. Just as the parents and Elliot, the dog catcher, rush in, he successfully kills the rat under the curtain, saving the baby. Initially, the parents are unaware of the rat's demise, but Tramp's heroism is eventually revealed, clearing his name and earning recognition for protecting the baby. During a clash with Peter Pan, Captain Hook seizes the moment to strike back for the hand he lost and his past humiliation. However, Wendy's warning lets Peter dodge the blow, causing Hook to slip and tumble into the sea. There, the hungry crocodile is waiting, and Hook is soon chased away from Neverland by the relentless beast. The Queen of Hearts is defeated when Alice, after growing large from eating mushrooms, boldly insults her. Enraged, the Queen orders Alice's beheading, but Alice escapes, leading the Queen and all of Wonderland on a wild chase. The chaos ultimately forces Alice to flee back to reality, leaving the Queen powerless and foiled. In Fun and Fancy, Willy the not very bright giant is sent crashing down to Earth when Donald and Goofy chop down the magic beanstalk.
He's helpless now, tumbling over and over and over. Down, 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 down.
In Make Mine Music, the wolf relentlessly chases Peter and his animal friends, aiming to eat them. Fueled by a desire for revenge, Peter devises a plan to trap the wolf. While Sasha distracts the predator, Peter and Ivan use a rope to capture him. The wolf is later seen in the victory parade, suspended on a pole carried by Misha, Yasha, and Vladimir. The toy bull is an inanimate object used by Donald to pretend to be a ferocious bull during a bullfighting game with the Caballeros. During the bullfighting game, Jose lights fireworks on the toy's tail, causing chaos and sending Donald flying out of the toy. The fireworks animate the toy, leading to a wild chase, ultimately ending with the toy being punched into the air, creating a fireworks display that closes the film. In Bambi, Rano is defeated in a dramatic confrontation. Rano emerges from a bush, where Feline disappeared, revealing his long-standing crush on her and his desire to have her as his mate. He attempts to force Bambi out of the way and claim Feline for himself, but Bambi challenges him, leading to a fierce fight. Ultimately, Bambi knocks him off a cliff into the water. The ringmaster gets his retribution through public humiliation when Dumbo flies over and dumps the ringmaster into a water-filled barrel, just like Mrs. Jumbo did earlier. To top it off, Dumbo plops a clown's elephant mask on the ringmaster's rear. Chernabog, disguised as the peak of Bald Mountain, casts a dark shadow over a village and summons ghosts from hanged criminals and fallen warriors. The ghosts swirl around him as he conjures fire, creating images of dancing animals and demons. Dawn and church bells force Chernabog and his minions to retreat. The ghosts return to their graves, and Chernabog, shielding himself from the sunlight, folds his wings and merges back into the mountain peak. In a desperate attempt to finish off Pinocchio and Geppetto, Monstro crashes headfirst into a rocky cliff. Starting off strong, we have Queen Grimhilda, the evil queen and wicked stepmother of Snow White, who doubles as a witch. The witch, cornered by the dwarfs, flees in terror but ends up trapped on a cliff. Desperate, she tries to crush them with a boulder, but karma strikes, literally. A lightning bolt shatters the ledge beneath her, sending her plummeting to her doom. The boulder follows, sealing her fate. As the dwarfs watch, two vultures swoop down to feast on her remains. See you guys at our next adventure. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.